video is on centering, which is one of the first things that you will learn in wheel throwing. I'm going to take a piece of clay. I have them wrapped up in plastic here from when I wedged my clay, ready to go. So remember, I wedged the clay in a certain way and then stood it up. So I'm going to want to make sure that I put that piece down to my wheel in this direction. I'm not going to want to put it this way. So make sure that my wheel is dry, and I can pat this if I want to a nice round shape. And then put it securely in the center of the wheel. So I'm using the concentric circles on the wheel head to get it on center as much as possible. And I'm going to want to make sure it's really stuck. All right. So I'm going to, for centering, I want to make sure that my wheel speed is on as fast as possible. Now some wheels go very fast on its fastest speed. Some will go a little bit slower. So you're going to need to kind of figure that out for yourself. My wheel, I like to have on a full speed. So I usually will put the pedal directly down and remove my foot from the pedal, so I'm avoiding fluctuating the speed as I'm working. So I'm going to make sure that I'm using as much water as possible. In the beginning, it's very important to keep the clay wet, to keep your hands wet. I'm also making sure that my legs are up against the splash pan, that I'm able to anchor my body down by putting my elbows down to my knees. So I'm in a good position to anchor myself to be able to center the piece. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to make sure it's really stuck. So again, my elbows, you'll notice in this video that my elbows stay down. I want to just put some pressure downward just to make sure it's stuck. Now I'm going to take more water. I'm going to put my hands on either side of the piece, and I'm going to put pressure right here and right here. And I'm going to do a process called coning. So again, my hands are on either side. I usually will clasp my hands like this, but for the video purpose, so you guys can see what I'm doing, I'll keep them separated. I will squeeze and move the clay up. I'll re-wet my hands. Now I'm going to push the clay down. I'm going to put this part right here in my palm. Now what's interesting is that I'm not going to press directly down straight. I'm going to press down at an angle this way. So I'm going to put this right here, and I'm going to push down. So you can see the way the mound moves slightly. Now I don't need to slam it all the way down, just to this point. So I'll do that again. So I'm going to put my hands on either side, squeeze and move up. Notice that this is a slow motion. It is not super fast. So again, I'm going to put the clay right about here. I usually will support my hand here, pushing down, but for the purpose of the video, I'm going to eliminate it. And again, notice that my elbows are down at my legs. So again, common mistakes would be squeezing too quickly, such as this. So I'm going to cause a really strong spiral if I move my hands too quickly. So as I'm moving my hands up, slowly. Another common mistake is when you're pushing down, to lift this elbow up, and this will cause your hand to move and cause this to get out of control. If this happens, again, put your elbows down, steady yourself, hold on to the clay, and re-steady it. So I would encourage you to cone the clay at least 3 times. And again, so I'm going to push down now with my hand here. So now what I'm gonna do is go to what I call original position. Original position, I am right-handed. So I'm gonna take my left hand, I'm gonna put my left elbow right into my hip crease, right here. And I'm gonna make sure it's positioned on the wheel as if it's a clock, 12, 6, 9, 3. This is gonna be directly at 6 o'clock, this part of my palm. This is the only part that I'm putting pressure with, and I'm gonna push directly forward. All right, now I'm gonna take my right hand and put it on top. Now, I'm not gonna put it like this on top and flatten. I'm gonna put it on top at an angle. So I'm gonna hold pressure with both hands, even pressure, and then slowly take my hands off. This piece is now centered. So, with original position, I can do a lot of different things. Again, I'm gonna keep my elbow in my hip crease. I could push forward a lot and raise this form. I could then put no pressure with this hand and put more pressure downward. I can then change that up again and push more this way. As I am doing this, if my hands get dry, the clay gets dry, I can simply take my sponge, wet my clay, and put my hands back. Now notice that I try not to remove both hands. I'll only remove my top hand, so I can stay in that position. And I'll slowly remove my hands, and this piece of clay is